Mohamed Issa, Regional Manager at Chainanalysis. And Rajat Sakhuja, Blockchain and Digital Assets at Mastercard. Gentlemen, over to you. Thank you.
Good day, everybody. Today we're going to talk about unicorns and the sauce that it takes to make them. So we're going to talk about some of the things that makes a unicorn, or at least try to imitate it. So gentlemen, now that we're all in session, I'm going to try to make this as fun because everybody's trying to get to lunch already. So we're going to have you gentlemen share your expertise from all the number of projects that you've been working with, and you've seen some of the greats make it there, and some of the ones that have disappeared. So what do you think is your first time, what advice would you give for the first time founders? What is the must-have that they need to do?
Hi guys, my name is Jiten. I head up Web3 for AWS. My background is building platform businesses for private equity and VCs, firstly in financial services, then Fintech, and then now Web3, so it's 20 years plus. I think at the moment, the one piece of advice is actually three pieces of advice. It's actually use case, use case, use case. Currently, we're seeing a lot of Web3 projects solving for Web3, which there is a community for that. In my role at AWS, we are positioning ourselves for the bridging between Web3 and Web 2, the Web 2.5. We see a big pattern in the last 18 months of VCs focusing and double downing on what is a use case, how do you solve real world problems, and how can you bring the average person to use your solution rather than build a Web3 technology solution, right? So rather than a solution looking for a problem, focus on the problem and then the solution.
Mohamed?
Okay, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Mohamed Issa. I work with Chainanalysis. Whoever doesn't know Chainanalysis, so we work with government. We provide product, service, research to regulators, central bank, law enforcement, and of course, crypto-native companies. So exchanges like Binance, Hacken. Our vision is much more to build trust in the blockchain. So first of all, I will be speaking more about how startup companies to protect themselves when it comes to crypto. There's two different parts. Being a proactive part, which is understanding who is your counterparty, what kind of crypto asset is coming to your platform. At the same time, how to be reactive if anything happen, what we can do. So we will speak more in details about how that can be done during the session today. But yes, it would be very good discussion. And if you have any questions also, we want that to be interactive with us. Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, I think you can. I'm Rajat. I look after product development and commercialization of blockchain, crypto, and central bank digital currencies in Mastercard. And the region that we look after is Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa. Now, that's jargon for saying that's a big region. 84 countries. We are pretty much present in all of them. I would like to be present in all of them, but that's not necessarily the case today, especially because the world that I represent, right? The Web3 world. Now, when we speak to startups, and in my role with product development and partnerships, I'm speaking to about, I would say, 10 startups a week. I would like to speak to more, but that's the average number. Don't quote me on that, but I expect to speak to them about what they're doing. And you'd be surprised to hear the number of times we come across startups that are trying to do a lot. Now, sometimes it pays off because then you can figure out what is it that works for you and you land on your feet, but that's not necessarily the case. When you're trying to build way too much without necessarily having a roadmap or a plan to get to that end result, you end up failing. And in my short time, I've already seen that cycle. That's probably because the world of Web3, it is quite fast, right? So you are failing, but I'm hoping that a lot of these startups that do not take off for whatever reason have taken some learnings. And to come back to your point, if it's about what's the one piece of advice, I would say have a laser focus on your operations and nailing it down to the T.
Thank you. So something else that we've all have in our minds is regulation and how to prepare. So I guess this would be for Mohamed, and the regulation is impacting the fintech and DeFi. How do you see that? The problem, should that be an obstacle, or should that actually be something that helps industry structure?
Okay, it depends about your point of view. So my point of view personally, regulation is good for our ecosystem. That's how we get legit investors. That's how we get banks to get on board, and we see that ecosystem growing. Until today, I'll be frankly with you, you talk to my sister, I talk to my mom, I talk to my relatives, crypto, it's still about trust. But when it comes to legit investors, when it comes to banking sector, the ecosystem will grow. And we're fortunate enough to be here in Dubai and the UAE, in a country that they want to be the hub of crypto worldwide. We have now Vara, we're working with them directly, ADGM also, and different entities at the same time. By doing that and having those kind of regulations, the ecosystem itself, it will grow. Whatever I speak with in a crypto event, you have that kind of mindset, no, we want crypto to be for us. We don't want regulation. We want to be completely privacy. But what is privacy if we cannot really get on board more citizens and more ecosystem to grow? So we see that, and we have that kind of opportunities and partnership to make sure that it's growing. It's either with banks, it's either with the crypto companies, and we see how even investors are coming here in the UAE to establish, and also the ecosystem is growing in terms of airlines now having their own NFT and accepting crypto, even real estate market here, and it will grow little by little. So the kind of regulations coming, it will be in phases, but there is.
Bershad, you're from a highly regulated industry. What do you think?
Yes, in a way you could say that. So let me start off by saying that we welcome clear regulations. And Mohamed just pointed out, if this ecosystem is going to grow, if it's going to become mainstream, we do need clear regulations. Now, most of you guys in the room either know Mastercard as the card in your pocket or on your phones, or know it as if you do understand payments well, as a payments network processor. About six years ago is when we started our journey. It could be a little more than that, but let's say about 6 years ago, we started our journey. It's changed quite a bit. The ecosystem has grown, but what has not changed is the fact that we still need clear regulations. Now, I think in the UAE, we are fortunate to have regulators that understand the space and are looking to make the space more accessible. And for us, our strategic pillars are essentially regulatory compliance, stability, and consumer protections. And if you notice, these three are the same pillars that we have in the core business of Mastercard. So we've taken our core pillars, attached it to the Web3 ecosystem, which goes on to show that the way we see this space is not one way or the other. There's going to be Web3, and it's going to exist the way, potentially it may not be the way we see it today, but in one form or another, it is going to exist. And if we want that to happen, it's going to be based on clear sets of regulations so that Web3 players who are essentially decentralized and could be anywhere in the world can understand what is it that they need to do if they want to operate in a jurisdiction.
Thank you. Jiten, wanted to make sure I pronounce your name right. So do you think that we as projects should be involved in the formation of the regulation, or should it be left to the big dogs?
So actually, a great example is someone like BlackRock coming into the community more effectively. And that actually means for those DeFi businesses, CeFi businesses, exchanges, anyone building in the space right now, these more traditional players will be your future partners, customers, and competitors, right? So the stakes are getting high. You've got to be very innovative, but you've also got to understand that you will win if you understand the regulation, and you will win if you understand how to work with the existing financial services incumbent players. That's kind of the reference point that I'm looking at right now.
And Rajat, do you think that it should be the regulation should be created by the masses so that we can help it adjust to our needs, or should that be restrained to the regulators strictly?
So I think there's advantages and pros and cons, as we say, right, on both ways. Now, regulations, historically speaking, have always been formed by the regulator, and that will always be the case. But in any technology, and not just Web3, whenever a new technology comes on the horizon, it's usually the industry that's informing the regulator. So they are the ones that understand the pain points, the needs. They are the ones that are working on use cases, and Jiten was talking about these use cases slightly earlier. Now, when it comes to a newer technology, it is very important that the regulator also works with the industry to understand it and come up with the right sets of regulation. And we've already seen that in a lot of jurisdictions. At least me personally, I've been involved in speaking to multiple regulators, and I would say that most regulators are on the right side of it in the sense that they do open up their regulatory frameworks for public consultation. And it's open for everybody. It's not just open for Mastercard or one of the larger players. It's open for Web3 players as well. So no matter if you're a DeFi that's just starting out, or a large centralized exchange, or a traditional payments network, the regulation and the regulatory framework is open for you to assess and then provide your feedback to the regulators.
Thank you. One of the things that we've discussed amongst ourselves is that a lot of projects are preparing for positive outcomes. So everybody's to the moon when they're building out. Nobody actually prepares for incident response situations. And this question is to you, Mohamed. I guess based on your expertise, what should projects be prepared for in aspect of incident response in case, should they be prepared if something happens? Not in a positive way, like a hack or anything like that.
So yeah, let me tell me out of the experience what we're having here in different aspects. So first of all, we see lots of projects, crypto native. They start hiring programmers and the ecosystem that they don't even meet. And several cases, that person might be actually from the Lazarus group from North Korea, that he just need to access your platform to start accessing also your partners and maybe they hack your system later on. So there are different measures, and maybe we can have that discussion later on, and I'm sure that your company is much more involved in that, to make sure that the counterparty that you're working with, you know who they are. They are not using you as a bridge. But let's go back to the being proactive and being reactive a little bit in details. Being proactive in the crypto ecosystem is to understand who you're working with in terms of assets coming to you. It's not only about the regulations, it's much more about you can easily, even if you are completely decentralized, your whole wallet can be sanctioned by the OFAC easily. So there are regulations, there is no regulation. The wallet, even if it has 10%, 20% coming from illicit activity, the whole investment is sanctioned, including the people in it. And that's a risk, because it's decentralized, you don't know who's the counterparty with, and that's why we try to help in that part. At the same time, where is your asset is leaving? So you might be making sure that everyone, let's give you an example, everyone is transferring it through a bank account or even cash. Are you sure the counterparty that you're sending asset to, crypto asset, it will not use for illicit activity? Also, you are in danger of being involved in money laundering for that. But that's the proactive part. Let's discuss the reactive part. What if it happened? What if someone has been working with your platform and partnering with you and simply drain your liquidity or hacked your system? That happens where we're speaking. It's happening here, and I'm involved in different cases in the UAE that the asset has been gone. And I'm sure that most of you, in a way or another, they know someone that their asset has been scammed or lost. So if there is any way to solve those issues, yes, there are teams, and also we can discuss this later. There are professional teams that they can trace that asset for you. They can talk to different law enforcement cases. We were involved last year with AXA Infinity. It's a $600 million hack. They came to us. We were able to trace it through different jurisdictions and to retrieve that asset back. The beauty in crypto is transparent, and every transaction is written there for your grandkids to see it. But unfortunately, which is fortunately for us, that lots of criminals, they don't know that. And that's why we're using, if you have the right tools, you can trace it and get back the asset.
We can't be prepared for 100%, but one thing we definitely can do is know what you will do in case an incident happens. A hack, you get penetrated by a black hacker. We're white hackers. We help you get prepared, and we discover the vulnerabilities ahead of time. And so that's something that our company helps the projects. I guess being properly prepared and knowing what you're going to do is just as important, and knowing who to contact and having that kind of instance played out. So we're running out of time here, but I'd like to have you gentlemen share best practices. Say one thing that projects that are unicorn that are doing right, and for newbies that are coming out, what they shouldn't do as epic fails that we've all seen. Can you share with one?
I think if you're focusing on the word unicorn, I think my personal view is the definition of unicorn is out of date. Getting to a 1 billion valuation is not necessarily the modern definition of a unicorn. You really need to look at your track record, your customers, and start looking at other metrics that define you as a future unicorn. You'll find that investors are not looking at your enterprise value as much as they used to be, especially in Europe, I'd say, or EMEA, compared to the US. And there are other metrics that we should be looking at, specifically in Web3, and a lot of them are around adoption and usage and consumption. So we're going back to basics of what SaaS metrics were. If those come together, that could potentially be a new definition of unicorn. And the reason why I say that is that if your business is going down that track, you have growth coming, don't look at enterprise value as your main metric, right? Look at how you're going to build that business for the future.
Thank you. Mohamed?
Oh, I can cover that a little bit. Now, this is very important when we speak about what we should be focusing on, right? And everybody talks about we're designing for the customer, we're keeping the customer at the heart of things, but is that really the case? I could be biased here because I come from a background where I was heavily involved in customer design and customer centricity, but this, I believe, is the single most important thing. Of course, there are other important factors that you need to keep in mind. You need to be solving a problem which actually exists in the market, not just something that you think is a problem. But once you figure out what that problem is and you understand who you're designing for, just keep that at the center of it, and then essentially every other piece should fall in. I'll add one more thing to that though. A lot of people get focused on driving their business, and that is important, and they try different things, right? One of the most important things that I've seen work is partnerships. Now, within Mastercard, we've got different ways of how we work with startups and larger organizations alike. About a couple of years ago, we realized our strategy needed some update. We needed a bit of restructuring, and we shifted our focus rather than just looking at fintechs and banks. We started looking at markets, and today we have divisions which look at different markets. So I now work with my counterparts in the crypto ecosystem. Now, essentially what we're doing with my counterpart in the partnerships team and myself is that we're driving these partnerships. You could be coming to us for a product that we have. Essentially, you could become a customer for us, or you could come to us with a business proposition. Now, we might not necessarily become resellers of your products, but we can introduce you to our customers who might be looking for your products as well. So when we're entering into a partnership with anybody, we're essentially looking at the entire ecosystem and not just a way of how either we can sell to them or they can sell to us. So remember that there's multiple ways for you to think of a partnership, and I think that's something that startups can really leverage.
100% agree. Partnerships are valuable. There's a lot of times are undervalued in terms of the benefit that they bring us. It's fulfilling the gaps that you may have in your business, and partners can help you out there. Mohamed, we're out of time, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Just thank you for coming in the weekend. Appreciate it. It was very lovely to be here and meeting all of you. We will be here. I will be here personally today, because if I will speak about compliance and regulations and how can you protect your asset and your customer asset, and actually how that impacts even your branding and get more investment, we will stay the whole day. So thank you again. It was a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.